Hello and welcome to Movie Night Mates, a real-time film commentary and review podcast. My name is Dan, and I'm joined as I am most weeks by my good friend, fellow movie enjoyer, and number one Corey Cunningham stan,
I can't.
Avery.
Hey, Avery.
And today, we're doing a little bit of a review for Halloween Ends, the movie capping off this new requel trilogy of the Halloween movies. Now, we started this podcast by doing Halloween 1978 and then 2018. So I talked about it then, but you know, if you're unfamiliar, this timeline ignores every movie after the first Halloween, so it doesn't even include Halloween 2 that reveals that Michael and Laurie are siblings.
Yeah,
that's not
that confused me.
Canon anymore. That's not the case. So it started as a standalone, and you can kind of feel it when you watch the sequels. It started as a standalone, just one movie, Halloween 2018. That was it. Then it did fucking amazingly at the box office, so they ordered a trilogy that were supposed to come out in 2020 and 2021. So we were supposed to get this movie last year, but we didn't. And so this whole trilogy has been kind of headed up by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. Danny McBride being the, comedian and comedy actor, writer, as well as being joined by Paul Brad Logan and Chris Bernier. And what made this set of sequels, a quadrilogy, I guess if you can count the original Halloween in there, so unique was that this was kind of the first time since those original movies that they had the approval of John Carpenter, the original creator. I'm sure Deborah Hill would have stepped in, but unfortunately she passed away a little bit ago. She was the other original creator of Halloween. So just to get that out of the way, and we'll be kind of discussing this and what we think of it and its impact and the choices made within it. And so from here on out, after this next bit, will be spoilers. We'll do a quick non-spoiler one sentence impression, I would say. And I'll talk more about it, but check this movie out. I think that it takes some weird turns and risks. If you have Peacock, then it's free on there. You don't have to waste any money or time. It's a fun Halloween movie, especially with friends. I watched this in like a crowded theater, and that really heightened my experience. I don't know about you, Avery. You watched it on Peacock. And you're also coming to this with the... Did you end up watching Halloween Kills, or no?
No, I just watched the kill count.
Okay. Plug the kill count. Wait, I'm literally wearing a Dead Meat shirt.
No,
right
it
now.
was really good.
Yeah, but yeah, so you can go back and watch Kills anytime you want now. That's just a silly, fun one, and that one really fills in a lot of what people's major complaint about this movie, which we'll get to. But I would say non-spoilery, check it out. It's a fun time. Watch it with friends, and just let it take you for a ride. How about you, Avery? What's your one sentence spoiler-free?
It's camp. It's campy.
That's exactly what Jess said after.
It's giving campy.
Yeah, I saw this with Jess and our friend Mimi, who's been on the podcast a few times, was last on for Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's what both of them said.
Also, it's giving Heathers, but yeah, that too. 100%.
That was the other thing, was like... Okay, we'll get to it. Okay, spoilers from here on out.
Yeah.
So, the major thing about this movie that's been the biggest critique and point of contention I've seen is that people are like, there's no Michael Myers in it. He's barely in it. What the fuck? And we'll do our usual, like, kind of recounting the main story, but to address that earlier, the original intent of the Halloween movies was never to be about Michael Myers. It was about making movies about a town or towns and Halloween themes. That's why you have Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and Halloween Season of the Witch, which is completely different from those two, is not in the same canon. Michael Myers does not appear once, and people freaked out. And you can actually see in the opening credits of the original 3 Halloween movies and these 3 Halloween movies that their credits line up. Like, they use the same font in this as Season of the Witch to kind of like say, hey, this one's a little bit different. It's not Michael Myers hunting people down. And
yeah,
that's
it was the blue. Yeah. All right.
exactly,
I see
and
that.
also great music. John Carpenter came back to do the music with his son Cody Carpenter and Daniel Davies, who I think is his like nephew or something. Like it was
That's
all
cute.
very much a family affair. But yeah, it's
Nepotism
not.
babies.
I think I think it was oh no. If anybody's non nepotism, it's John Carpenter. He's like the most proletariat filmmaker ever, especially in terms of horror. Like he's very much like the working man's horror auteur. But this one especially was like very weird, and it doesn't really follow Michael Myers, and I think that comes down to the marketing. Like if you look up the Halloween Ends poster, it's all
Yeah.
like Jamie Lee Curtis facing off with Michael. It's all about they finally have their confrontation. It
Yeah.
all ends. Blah 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 blah. And I think the big problem here was they could have done Halloween and Halloween Kills as their own thing and ended that a little trilogy with that, and maybe put the killing Michael stuff from this onto the end of Kills instead, and then do this movie in like 5 to 10 years as like just a weird offshoot set in the same world, but just like here's another person who got infected by this thing. And also it's not the first time that the whole idea of like Michael's presence or whatever affected him being passed on to someone else. That happens in Halloween 4, The Curse of Michael Myers, or whatever. Return of
be
Michael
honest,
Myers. Halloween 4 ends with his niece getting whatever because
Girl boss.
she have you seen any of the other aside from like the
I've
original
seen,
Halloween?
Like, I haven't seen the original.
You haven't seen
I've
the original
seen-
Halloween? Oh my god.
I've seen-
Okay, that really changes a
I've
lot of
seen-
this conversation.
I've seen snippets. Hold on. I definitely have watched it because knowing you and being friends with you, I've definitely watched it.
Probably.
I don't remember, and I remember watching. Is it H2O or something? The
Yeah,
one?
H20. Yeah,
H20,
that was alright.
H2O. That one, and then Halloween 2018.
Yeah,
and
H2O
then-
is a pretty fun one. That's the one where like Jamie Lee Curtis first came back, but she does her best in this too. I think that this was a really interesting take on like what these movies were supposed to be about, and the reason that I like this movie is about 25 to 30 minutes in, I realized that this movie has the exact same plot as Little Shop of Horrors. It's
What?
and I was like, yeah, I'm into it now, man. It's about a
Bro.
weird, geeky dude who finds this magical, powerful thing that imbues him with the self-confidence he didn't normally have. So he brings people to feed it because it gives him the ability to go out
Oh my
and live his
God, bro.
dreams, ride his motorcycle, get a girlfriend, all that shit. All Corey Cunningham needed was a Harley machine cruising around like half his shit. And I was like, this is Little Shop of Horrors. It's Little Shop of Horrors, and I love it.
It's
So
also
I was just
giving
thinking about it.
Evan
that.
Hansen. I don't know how, but nerdy guy.
But yeah, Heather's was the other thing because at one part he's like, we'll burn it all down.
Yes.
And I was
And the
like,
motorcycle. And I'm like, bro. I was like, our love is God. Just say it. Just say it right now.
our love is God, man. Let's go get a
Our love is God,
Slurpee.
man.
Okay, so how this movie opens is it's a 1 year because the first two of this trilogy take place on the same night. It's it opens 2019 Halloween night in Haddonfield, and we're introduced to Corey Cunningham, who's kind of like one of the main central characters of this movie. Didn't appear in any of the promo aside from him getting
Yeah.
choked by Michael Myers, which makes you think he's gonna get like killed immediately. And he's arrived to babysit a little shit named Jeremy.
Bro,
And no joke,
fuck
as soon as he
Jeremy.
was like, Jeremy was like fucking with him, I was like, kind of hope this kid fucking dies. Got my wish. Anyway,
wish.
so the parents leave. Corey's like an up and coming kid. He mentions like looking at engineering programs and all that stuff, and he's going on to have a good life. He's clearly done well in school. He would have been like a grade or so below Allison, who is was a senior in the first Halloween movie and is Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie's granddaughter. Her mom, played by You're
That
Not
was
My
weird.
Supervisor, died in the second film. So, you know, she.
That was strange. That casting choice was a little
I
strange.
loved Judy Greer in it, especially at the end of the original, the first one, the 2018 one, with where she pretends she fakes him out and shoots
Yeah.
Michael in the neck.
Yeah, that was the only point. But like when she was like,
It's weirder in
it.
Halloween
Like her
Kills.
acting, I just like wasn't. I don't know. It just wasn't.
She should have been like, say goodbye to these, and then died. Okay, so the parents leave and they're watching The Thing on TV, which I thought was a cool, little nod, because in the original Halloween, they're watching The Thing from Another World because John Carpenter liked that. John Carpenter went on to remake The Thing. Fun little references. And the kid's like, and he's like, okay, we should turn this off. And Corey goes
He's
to
like, no,
just...
you fucking pussy.
Yeah, the
Jeremy's
kid's such
like,
a
"Fuck you,
dick.
dude."
And he's like making fun of Jeremy and of Corey. And so Corey goes to get like a snack, and when he comes back, Jeremy isn't in the room anymore. And there's like a lot of the theme and through line of this movie is that Michael Myers, even though when he's not there as a physical presence, has had an effect on the town. It's basically broken everybody's psyches. Like, they're really cautious about Halloween. They're,
like, this kid is
very
young.
stranger danger. And so the house is empty and the front door's open and Corey's like freaking out. He's looking around. He goes all the way upstairs, this windy staircase that this house has. And Corey goes upstairs, investigates the attic, and the door slams behind him, and he's like trapped in there, and you're like, oh shit, it's Michael, he's here. Like, he got fucked up at the end of Halloween Kills, but he's here now. It's not, it's just Jeremy playing a prank. The parents pull up because they forgot something, or they're just coming home, and Corey's freaking out because he's like, your parents are going to be home soon, like, we got to get you in bed, we're both going to be in trouble. And he's just panicking because he doesn't like to be who would like to be in that situation. And then Corey fucking kicks the door. He's just kicking it repeatedly, and then he like finally gets it open, and we see it. Yeah, he's like screaming, "I'll kill you!" as the parents are coming in, and they hear that, and they're like, "What's going on?" And then they turn around. We see one quick cut of Corey getting the door open, hitting the kid in the head, and then the mom is like talking to the dad, and we just see him slam down at the end of that staircase. The entire audience I was with died laughing. They were just like, everyone was like, ooh, and then giggling. And a lot of this movie got some great audience reactions. At one point, someone was like, what the fuck is this movie, when Corey's mom kissed him, like,
Yes!
out loud yelled that, but we'll get to that.
Oh god.
Dear Evan Hansen.
No. The jump scare.
So Corey is like made into a pariah. He gets arrested, and he's like, it was an accident, as he's getting in the police car, and bam, smash cut, title card. Great opening sequence with these cool pumpkins like exploding into other pumpkins, which was really fun. Great music. And then it's just kind of, we get this little montage of Halloween every subsequent year. In 2020, 2 people got shot in their car, and like the policemen are like, who is it? Is it him? And then someone's like, Michael Myers doesn't use guns. Then 2021, lady has hung herself on her garage. I found out that's she appears briefly in Halloween Kills, but that's the mom of the boy from the first movie who gets impaled on the fence in a devil costume. So she was wearing his devil costume, and she killed herself. And now it's 3 years later. Laurie is living with her granddaughter Allison, and she's like very well adjusted, kind of too well adjusted. She's like baking, she's having fun. She's apparently gotten sober. That's a big thing. She's gone through a lot of therapy. She seems to be like the happier one of the two, which is a complete difference from the last time we kind of saw them. And Laurie's finally like writing a novel about her
Bro, that was so... I was like... Oh
experience with him, with Michael, and like as a survivor and survivor's guilt, and what it means to, persevere. And Yeah, so I think there's actually some reference to that with the podcasters in the first movie. I was waiting this whole trilogy for the one dude podcaster to come back. I was like, he didn't die in that bathroom, because apparently what this trilogy loves to do is kill people in one movie and then bring them back in the next one.
Yeah.
Like the sheriff who gets his fucking throat slashed and then ran over with a car, but apparently he didn't die. And then in this one, the lady who got stabbed in the jugular with a fluorescent bulb is apparently still alive too.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. So, like, we see Allison living her life, and she goes to work at the hospital. She's a nurse. And she gets pulled over by a police officer who's apparently her ex, and he's like 40. And she's supposed to be 23, 24. I was like, what the fuck? And, like, Laurie was, like, into it, the relationship, so it's supposed to be, like, normal. Like, it's supposed to be he's, like, her age, and I don't know what happened with the casting of that character, but...
so old.
Weird. Really weird. He also looked exactly like the sheriff from the original Halloween movie, but we'll get past that. And he's like, hey, your muffler's broken, you gotta go fix that. We then get introduced to Corey again, who is free. He's not in prison anymore, or I don't think he was ever in prison, but as I said, he's very much the town pariah. Like, people stare at him, glare at him, they don't give a shit about him. And he is going to work. He works at a junkyard, and as soon as, like, you get these sweeping shots of the junkyard, you see, like, a car grinder shredder, and I'm like, who the fuck is going in that thing by the end of this movie? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And, like, they're just, like, showing all these tools, like a blowtorch and stuff, like, yeah, that's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. And so he gets to work. He's late, but his boss is pretty soft on him, and we'll see why. And he gives Corey a motorcycle. Like, he's like, if you can fix it up, it's all yours. And he's like, cool, great. And then Corey rides his bike, his little bicycle that he bikes around town on, to a convenience store to get some chocolate milk, because that's like a character thing. He drank really.
I kid him.
He loved his chocolate milk in the original, and now he's grabbing a Yoo-hoo here, which technically is not chocolate milk. If you read it, it says chocolate drink, because I don't think it has enough milk in it to be technically chocolate milk.
Yeah, it's like water. It's good though.
But he's, like, on his way out. Some kids are like, can you buy us some beer? And he's like, no. A lot of people don't like Corey. I kind of liked him. Like, I don't know why. I was like, he's a baby. Protect him at this point. Meanwhile, Jess and Mimi were thirsting after him, especially after he started killing people, because of course.
Oh my god.
Yeah. What it is. I don't and then they, like, recognize him. The kids' names, I'll read them here, but they're not important, are Terry, Billy, Stacy, and Margot, which doesn't really matter. And they're, like, really surface level, one note. One of them is, like, a jock, one of them's, like, alt, one's a nice girl, and one is, like, a mean girl, and that's kind of it. And the jock is like, hey, he's like talking like this, and I'm like, you guys, is this in Illinois? Like, what the fuck? Not fucking Brooklyn or the Bronx. This guy sounds like he's from. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yo, no brim.
Michael with the no brim.
Aki way.
So, they like brand him a psycho babysitter and all that stuff, and they're just bullying him, and he gets so mad that he breaks his yoo-hoo and he cuts his hand. And he's like, it was really gross too. Like, there was some really good blood effects and some great gore
at the end.
in this.
Yeah.
When he's like pulling out. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. That made me squirm. When he's pulling out like the glass shards. And anyway, and so Laurie shows up to save the day and save him from these rabid teens who are bullying a 25-year-old man, which is like a little weird, but okay. Just punch them.
Yeah. Like...
You're bigger than them.
For real.
Like, say something that'll cut to their core, Corey. And she, like, kind of takes him under her wing and brings him to the hospital as a way to introduce him to Allison, who she's like, get back on your feet. And then Laurie gives Corey a knife to cut their stab into their tires, which he does. And then he keeps that knife for later. It's a fun tool that'll come back later in the movie. She takes him to the hospital. Allison immediately is like in love with him.
Bro, she's so horny for him. Like, the minute he looks up, I'm like, girl, what? Like, she was dickmatized without even seeing it, without even feeling it. Bro,
she knew it was big.
It was very surprising. You know, like, when he looked up, she was like, oh my god, a damaged boy, just like me. Like, bro.
Yeah, I mean, she says it later. She's like, because you saw me as me and I saw you as you. I didn't really like that. I didn't like how how alt she was about him when like that wasn't really her character. I get like she's been affected by everything that's gone on, and in some of the other movies there's like hints that she kind of takes things too far. Like she like might have a little bit of a darkness in her, but this was it was full on Heathers at some points. Mm-hmm. And I also felt Corey Cunningham, played by the way, Roam Campbell, and Allison is played by Andy Matichak. And of course Michael is James Jude Courtney, as he played him in the last two movies too. Just wanted to get the starring people out. And so she's working on his hand. The doctor comes in, Dr. Mathis. Everyone calls him Dr. Mathis. Even the person he's sleeping with is like, Dr. Mathis, Dr. Mathis. And she's like picking the glass shards out, and they're just like flirting. And then something happens that causes him to knock over a bunch of stuff, and the doctor's like, oh, you fucking idiot, what the fuck, you clean this up. And like storms out of the room. I'm like, what doctor would be patient, like that? Like... Yeah. It would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Like, the man has fucking like gashed his hand. Of course, honestly, he's not going to be very coordinated right now.
Yeah, just thinking about it right now though, I'm probably thinking he's like so mad at her because she like denied his sexual advances, but the other one didn't, and that's why she got the promotion and like is sleeping with him.
Yeah, that could be it.
What did she do? Like, she didn't do anything to have him hate her other than exist.
She's just a
and like based on the other girl, he probably
she's just a frigid bitch, I guess. Doesn't want to fuck him, and from his point of view. So Corey is like, you shouldn't let him talk to you like that. I'm an ally. I'm a women's rights. You know, yeah, I'm a little bit of a feminist, maybe.
Like, teenagers talk to you like that. Like,
yeah, that's his arc, is learning to stand up for himself. Oh my god.
The only way a white man would.
Yeah.
By doing this shit.
He's kind of a school shooter, but after school. The thing is, like, why not just make him be in high school? Like, that would make him being bullied a little bit. Oh, because he has to fuck her. And that would be weird if he was still in high school and she wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe the original plan was maybe this would have been perhaps only a year after the original if the pandemic didn't happen and delay everything. Maybe they didn't want it to be 3 years after the first, so maybe he was supposed to be like a classmate of hers or something.
Yeah.
Like while they were in high school, and that's why he would be bullied by actual high schoolers. Children are scary though, you know. I'd rather face off against a bar full of dudes being mad at me than some middle schoolers at the end of the day. Some high schoolers. They cut deep with their grabbing your yoo-hoo and pushing you down.
Yep.
So he is like, I work at the garage. Your muffler's just gonna need like 2 screws and you'll be good. Come by and I'll take care of it. So then we see Allison at home. She's talking with Laurie after Corey has invited her over for dinner. And she's like encouraged by Laurie and Lindsay Wallace, who's played by Kyle Richards, one of the Real Housewives, who was in the original Halloween movie as like a 9-year-old girl or something.
I love her. Yeah, and I remember she didn't die in Halloween Kills.
She did not.
Like
she has
the
Lord of the Rings scene and then nothing after that. Like, she gets taken to the hospital and then she's out of the movie. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight.
Oh god.
You gotta watch that movie. That one's so fucking stupid. The thing is, though, a lot of people complain. My other point was a lot of people complain not a lot of Michael in this, not a lot of Michael kills. Go watch Halloween Kills. He straight up murders like 40 people in that movie.
He needs to recuperate.
That movie was basically just filler and excuses for them to try out different ways of Michael killing people. If that's what you want, just watch that movie. That's not what this one's about.
He's old as fuck in this one. He needs to rest.
Yeah, he's been He has fucking fingers blasted off. He got stabbed, shot. He's older than Laurie.
Yeah, by like how much?
He would be like late 60s at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs some naps. In those little sewers.
Yeah. Even though he's like the personification of evil, he has been in the dark, dank sewers for 4 years, so not the best.
It was only supposed to be one, but
place to recuperate.
For 4 years on that, yeah.
Shit. And like at the end of this scene, like Laurie says something really weird and very Jamie Lee Curtis. She's like, "Well, it's time to show Grief your fucking tits and say you're not gonna fuck with me." And like she flips off and then throws a bunch of pumpkin guts on the ground, and we get a transition to Corey's broken home instead.
Love that.
I don't know how you felt about that, but I was like very taken aback by that line. I laughed, but I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it just felt really out of. Yeah. It's just.
I just let Jamie Lee Curtis vamp on that one for a few takes.
Jagged Little Pill vibes.
Oh my god. Everyone go see Jagged Little Pill when it comes to your local theater. Probably soon, because it's going to be on tour for the rest of its existence, if even that. So Corey does not have a very good home. He lives with his mother, Joan, and she's dating his boss. I didn't think the boss was his dad, because like I feel like they would have a better actual relationship. I think they were just dating, or like he's his stepdad or something. Otherwise, I feel like it would have been very explicit, like, that's my dad, and he loves me, but my mom doesn't. She's, like, really overprotective. It's very much like, you know, Norman Bates and Norma Bates.
Yeah, she's like, who are you texting?
Yeah, and he's 25.
Secrets you don't get custard. I'm like, bro, he's a grown-ass man. He could pay rent.
Yeah, like... I mean, he has a job. I don't know, man.
And that makes sense why, when she was, you know, showed that little creepy side to her, why he was right there, like the stepdad, but he didn't step in because he's probably like, this is not my place.
Yeah,
not
man.
My son. Like, I feel like
you.
Another dad would be like,
I'm just gonna sit here and say his stepdad. He looked like the dad from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
I love that dad. He's such a good dad.
That's what he reminded me of.
He's trying his best.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Let's remake this movie, except it's with the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs characters instead.
Oh my god, could you imagine Flint going on a fucking killing rampage?
I mean, he was like 2 seconds away from doing it in that movie. If the food thing didn't work out. Someone just
looked into his eyes, yeah.
So, like, his mom's really overly protective and defensive of him because she's like, everyone's out to get him. So, he, you know, then we just kind of cut to him at his job the next day. He flirts with Allison when she shows up and is like on the motorcycle with her. Yeah, she's like, fuck my muffler. The muffler comes back.
Girl, that's important.
Yeah, get that shit fixed. And then they
was rattling.
They see the jock kid whose car Corey vandalized show up, and he's being abused by his dad. Which, like,
I don't get. I'm like, oh, how do you not know how to change a tire? I don't know. Who's gonna fucking teach me? Like, what? Like, you're getting mad at me.
I don't know, man.
Or isn't that something you're supposed to teach me?
Yeah, he's literally in high school. Maybe if it was Corey, an adult man, then he could yell at him. But also at this point...
But it's just like, who's going to teach you? Who's going to act like, you know, you don't think you... It's his dad's car. He keeps saying that.
True, yeah.
It's like...
At this point, I was like, the way this is going, I think Corey might be some sort of Michael Myers copycat, because he's in coveralls in, like, every scene we've seen him so far. He looks like Michael Myers just... because of his head.
Little junior.
Yeah. So we then cut to Laurie at the supermarket. She runs into Frank Hawkins, who I love. He wasn't really used that much in this movie, but, you know, they kind of had, like, an old flame from back in the day.
It was kind of cute.
Yeah, he was there when Michael Myers was caught and all that stuff. Shot his partner in the throat by accident, but we'll just, gloss over that little detail. And so, like, Laurie's leaving, and then she gets confronted by the lady who got stabbed in the throat in the last movie, while her sister is yelling at her, like, she can't speak because of you, because of Michael Myers. Why didn't you help her? She was your neighbor, blah, 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 blah. And then Laurie just kind of removes herself from the situation and leaves. She's very, like, upset by this, and this starts to kind of rattle her cage that she's, like, this little glass persona she's put out of being very overly peppy and hyper and really into everything, and she,
if
like,
anything,
starts to...
I would blame the podcasters for bringing the mask to that man.
Yeah.
In the original Halloween. Like, she didn't do shit. She
Podcasters suck.
Yeah.
Who podcasts?
They're the fucking worst.
Allison then invites Corey to a Halloween party that she's being goaded into doing by one of her coworkers. And she, you know, he brings a little scarecrow mask to wear, a little scarecrow moment, and he starts to have fun. And then he takes the mask off and goes to get a drink at the bar. He runs into the mother of Jeremy, and she's yelling at him like, "You're just out here drinking. You killed my son." Blah, 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 blah,
Like,
blah.
girl, get over it. Your son was a shithead.
Yeah, maybe if he didn't suck, then he would still be alive. Like,
real.
if he literally didn't bully this this man. This dude's catching L's the whole movie.
No, he can't catch a break.
And so, like, she's accusing him of deliberately murdering Jeremy, and then he, like, storms out of the party and yells at Allison. He's like, "This is why I don't go out. Everybody's bad at me all the time." And then
you did this to me.
This is where we get
fault.
the first little "Our love is God." She's like, "We're the same. We're, like, both damaged." And he says a very good point. He's like, "Yeah, well, people look at you, they see, like, a hero and a survivor, and I killed a kid. So, like, no, I'm sorry. It's not like that." And then he's walking home. He gets bullied by teenagers again. They beat him up. He, like, stands up for himself because he, like, doesn't accept their...
I tried to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Their apology.
Whipping a knife around, and then they just knock it out of his hand.
Yeah,
like
he
it's
pulls a
nothing.
knife on them, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, just, like, hold on to it better. Like.
And so then they escalate the situation and throw him off a bridge.
But they didn't. He fell.
Yeah, sure.
No, that's his story.
Well, we'll see.
Gotta get it straight.
And so we then see Corey being dragged into the sewers. Earlier we got some shots of, like, this drain pipe under an overpass, sorry, and he gets pulled in. And that made me think also, this whole time I was thinking, this movie is what would happen if Stephen King tried to write a Halloween movie. It wouldn't be about Michael Myers. It would be about an evil town and a person in a fucking drain pipe.
I was like, okay, this is it. What I didn't get, though, was how, like, he dragged him. He could have just killed him right there, but then he dragged him and, like, let him wake up and then...
Yeah, because he likes to
like,
see... Yeah, he doesn't kill unconscious people, I think. It's like he doesn't... He likes to see the fear in their eyes, partially. I mean, there's no real motive.
Like Stormfront.
Ooh, little Boys reference. Have you gotten to season 3 of The Boys?
Yeah, just finished.
Fucking great show.
Little incel.
Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ spin and I said my. Have you heard the theory? Little Boys spoiler moment. Have you heard the theory that Stormfront is his mom? Is Homelander's mom, and that she had him with
but I wouldn't.
Soldier Boy.
I wouldn't be surprised, little Aryan baby.
Yep. Okay. Anyway.
Sorry.
We'll discuss this more later. Great. That was such a good season. My favorite season by far. Season 3. Soldier Boy's so good. He's a lot like me, you know, like him. He and Homelander are just like.
I kin them.
They're my kin. I'm a kinny of them.
Homelander fucker 1. That's my Xbox game tag. Xbox gamer tag if you want to add me on Xbox.
Oh my
I'll
god.
destroy you in Halo.
Oh my god. The teens are all playing Overwatch 2 now. Get with the times, man.
I know.
But I think it's because Michael likes to see people's eyes when they die. Like, that's a thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
his whole motive, apparently, in Halloween Kills was just to get home and look at himself in the reflection of his window. So there's a whole eye thing. And so he wakes up and he's, like, walking out, and then Michael grabs him by the throat and starts to choke him. And then Michael, like, looks into Corey's eyes, and they have this, like, little moment together. It's pretty sexually charged.
Yeah.
And he, like, sees Corey's past and his future, and he's like, you're like me. So he doesn't kill Corey, and lets him leave. So he, like, I guess it's because Corey has killed a child or something.
Yeah. The initiation fee.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of Michael's club. That's his secret. But yeah, this is his little feed me moment. And so Corey gets out, and the homeless man has a knife, and he's like, go get me Michael's mask if you survived. And Corey's like, what the fuck, no. And then they get into an altercation, and Corey accidentally stabs him, but then, like, continues to stab him to death. And then he's like, whoa. And Michael drags the body in. Corey goes to Allison's to find her. And at this point, I think it's this when Laurie just kind of, like, sees him outside the window as like a Michael Myers standing behind a bush thing, and she's like, that's weird.
Well, no, yeah, he goes to get washed up, and he, like, looks in the mirror all, like, brooding, and it's, like, wet fucking hair, fucking stupid.
I do that too.
He gets all cleaned up, and then he goes.
Okay, good. Keeping me on track here.
Yeah, because they would have been like, why are you bloody? Like, what's going on?
And
the mom was like, why didn't you come home? Not like, what the fuck happened? Are you bleeding?
Where were
are you okay?
I was so worried. 19 hours. I was you. So he goes to Allison's to see her.
Like,
Laurie immediately, like, she's like a Jedi. She immediately senses, like, that his aura has changed, and he's not the same fun little bubbly boy.
It's
in the eyes. He takes her out to dinner. Her douchey ex-boyfriend, like, comes up to them, and, like, then Corey gets mad at him.
First he shows her the house, because he's like, I killed someone. And then it's like, that's just it, and then he takes them to the house.
Yes, sorry, yeah. He was like...
No, I just watched it today, so it's so fresh in my mind.
He's like, I killed someone, and then he shows her the blood stain at the Allen house, so I guess they just immediately moved out of there. Don't blame you. Honestly, I'm surprised later in the movie he didn't kill the mom. Like, Jeremy's mom. Like, he didn't go after either of the parents for, like, you know, accusing him of murdering.
Yeah.
Plot point. So they go out to dinner, as I said. Doug, the ex, comes up, and he's like, so this is who you're with now? Like a fucking child killer, blah, 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 blah. Corey is like, I'll suck your dick right here then, man.
I'd rather be with him than a cop.
Yeah.
So.
Give me a JD any day. I'm pretty sure when we saw this movie, I was sitting next to Jess, and tell me if I'm wrong, does Doug say something along the lines of, like, well, what are you gonna do about it, or something like that at this point? Because I swear to God, I was like, maybe come. Like, that's what I'll do. I don't know.
Maybe?
I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up. Maybe I'm confusing this movie with The Blob, which I just watched last night, and I might have made that joke during The Blob. There's so much male confrontation, and that's such a good diffuser. Anyway, back to the scene that we've been talking about for like 5 minutes. Laurie's like, this is wrong, so she goes to speak with Corey's mom, and she's like, Corey's mom doesn't want to hear it and blames Laurie for Michael for some fucking reason.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't get that. Like,
yeah, she's like, they picked my son because you defeated your boogeyman. Like, he vanished, so he had to be the new boogeyman. I'm like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah, but that's also, like, not Laurie's fault. That's just the town's fault.
His mom sucks, man.
Yeah.
Corey drops Allison off, they kiss, and then he rides his motorcycle. And we see that Doug is following him, so Corey leads him to the underpass, knocks him out, brings him into the sewer, and then he tries to kill Doug, but Doug is bigger and stronger than him, so Michael shows up.
Daddy Michael!
Yeah, and, like, Michael's really frail at this point, which we discussed. He was very injured, he's old, and he's been in a fucking sewer for 4 years, so he's got some issues.
Not much sustenance, yeah.
And so Corey's like, I want you to show me how you do it, and holds down
like,
Doug.
Up.
Yeah. He's like a fucking coach.
Get up.
He holds Doug while, you know, Michael does his thing and stabs him.
Intimate.
Yeah, it was pretty sexy.
That was like there was
they
a
are
lot
lovers,
to unpack
these
there.
two. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of layers to this fucking movie.
I don't think they were meaning for this to happen, though. These layers.
I don't know. Maybe. That's a little... What, Corey's a little otter, and Michael's a big old bear?
Jesus. No, he's a cub.
Oh, okay.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, we're
the
the two most unqualified people to talk about this.
He is a twink, though.
Yeah. Doesn't someone call Corey a twink at this point, or was that one of my friends who said it afterwards? I'm getting the actual movie confused with the fucking witty shit that people were saying around me. And then Corey goes home and fucks Allison. So
yeah,
she, you know, that's only
like about Michael the whole time. I bet.
Yeah, he wears the mask.
Babe, it's the only way you can do it.
Babe, can you like maybe act like you've lived in a sewer for 4 years and you're like a weird little like mountain man in the sewer? Maybe. Can you not talk? You wear this mask. Can you have really like jerky but kind of, you know, purposeful movement this whole time?
Babe, stop.
Oh my god, I'm fucking the shape. I think Allison is like one of the few final girls in like one of these kinds of movies to have sex with the killer. The only other time I can think of is Sydney in Scream. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, at work the next day, Allison is getting, you know, her colleague Deb, who's this like redheaded nurse who we've seen in a few scenes before, but like doesn't really become important until now, is like bothering her, and she got this promotion like Avery said, and it's because she's like, you know, Mathis likes me. And then Deb talks about, you know, she's just like always talking about how Allison survived Michael, and you know, she's seeing a psycho babysitter, and then Allison snaps and is like, shut the fuck up, Deb, how about you fuck off? Which she does.
Rubbing off on her.
Next scene, Laurie is at a bar with Lindsay, where Lindsay works, and they speak to Jeremy's dad there. He's like, I didn't really hate Corey that much. It was mostly my wife, like, who was reacting that way. I could see how it could have been an accident. And he feels kind of guilty for how Haddonfield has treated Corey ever since, because he was also like, it sucked because everybody made their tragedy about themselves, which I think is a really good point, and that's again one of the through lines of this movie. This movie is about, you know, how tragedy affects towns. That's what the whole series is about, more or less, like, and society. It's not a great movie, and it misses a lot of like, it doesn't nail everything, but it's, you know, I think I like when slashers try to go a little bit further than just having people dying all the time. But then he also mentions how he saw Corey earlier that day, and when he went to like say hi and try to smooth things over after hearing what happened with his wife like the night before, he like saw in Corey's eyes that he just like wasn't the same person.
That part was so cheesy to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, we didn't need to do that.
It's like it was just something different. Like,
we then see Deb going to Dr. Mathis's house because they're sleeping together. Jess pointed this out to me. She only calls him Dr. Mathis, which is weird. Why don't call him by his first name? And then he has a really, like, it's supposed to be like a rich person house, but it's ugly as shit, and it looks like it's from like 1974. Like, it's really, really, like, it's like fucking Backrooms vibes. Like, I didn't like it. It gave off weird things. Like, it has a pool in the middle and everything's around that pool. It's just yeah, I didn't like it. It was Don't Worry Darling. That's how it felt. Fuck that movie. But we'll keep going here. It's like large open windows and all that, you know, for horror purposes. Deb goes to get fixed up. She like hears a commotion, the lights all go out, and she goes outside and sees Corey in his scarecrow mask just like killing Mathis. He put a plastic bag over his head and stabbing him repeatedly.
Yeah, but I thought that was a really cool scene, how she walked out with her head turned and you just see him in the background, kind of in the dark, like stabbing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there was some...
I've never seen that before.
I really liked a lot of like the shot composition of this movie, and it was shot pretty well. Like, it, you know, it didn't always have static shot reverse shots. I like that it, you know, played with it a little. I mean, all these movies have pretty basic, because they're kind of going for like that 70s Halloween vibe. But I did like that. Yeah, that was a cool shot. A lot of the kills in this movie were fun. Some were a little but when it pops off, the third act of this movie, I think, is the best part. It was just so good in the third act. The first act was kind of the worst part, in my opinion. Like, this movie does ramp up. What did you say? Sorry.
I said Margot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, she just gets stuck under that shit for like 5 minutes. I was like, help this girl. Get her out. Okay. I couldn't really figure out why he killed Dr. Mathis. I'm like, did Allison like vent to him? But it could have just been because Dr. Mathis was dick to him, too.
Well, yeah, I thought it was, she was like she huffed and puffed. And I thought it was like she told him to do it. Because I thought they were in cahoots.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were.
She
I
was
don't know if they were.
starting to get a little like darker too.
She was getting a little edgy, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were going for that, like making the audience question whether or not she's part of telling him what's going on, but that could very well be it. Anyway, Deb freaks out and runs inside because Corey kind of butchers trying to get her too, and then he's like, "You get her," and then Michael's inside. He does the classic Michael move, picks her up by the throat and impales her to a wall with his knife. And then they just leave, I guess. Is like Corey like driving Michael around on his motorcycle?
Oh, could you imagine?
Boyfriends. Can we get a shirt with that? I'd love that. Like a little cartoon of like Corey on his bike and Michael just like hugging him and leaning his head on his back.
Yes.
That was the real love story here.
No, for real. Yeah,
Corey is
just forgotten about. No one mentions them.
Corey is taking Allison out on another date. They go to like the top of the radio station. The movie, the radio station is like throughout the movie. It opens the credits with like you hear this Haddonfield radio station, DJ Willie the Kid, and they're like talking about like let's get out of this town. Like very, you know, Heathers. Very all that stuff. And I thought this was gonna come back. I thought like the tower was going to be where like the big final confrontation was gonna be, like on top of the tower. No. They climb down. Corey's like all daring and jumps, and he's like, haha, I'm fun now. I'm not a loser. And then the DJ comes out and like makes fun of them and is like mocking them, and he's like, I'm cool, I'm the radio host, you guys ain't shit. And this is where we get the best scene, the most dividing scene in the movie. Corey goes home. He is yelled at by his mom. She slaps him, and then she immediately kisses him on the mouth. And then it turns
there. You just see the stepdad just sitting there. That's what got me like...
There was a quiet moment after that, and someone in the theater that I saw this in was like, what the fuck is this movie? Really loud. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just here for the ride at this point.
Shit is wild.
It is now Halloween. I thought Halloween already happened. I thought that's where the party was, but then I realized if this is supposed to be 2022, then that Halloween party would have happened on Friday the 28th or the 29th, and actual Halloween is a Monday. So, makes sense. And Corey slept at the Allen's house on the blood patch because he's just so edgy now. Laurie is there, and it opens with like kind of these like shots you see of like a chair hitting a window. I thought it was gonna reveal like his mom and he'd killed her and like set her up in a rocking chair or something, but no, it's Laurie and she's just kind of like showing up everywhere. And
you're like, hey, bud, you all right?
Yeah, she lectures him and basically is like
5150 him, basically.
What's
like,
that?
Like when the police like 5150, it's like when they're mentally unstable and they need to be
gotcha
off in an ambulance.
She's like, stay away from Allison. He's like, you introduced us, which good point. And he calls her a freak show, and then he turns back around.
Lovers.
Yeah, and Corey.
The freak show and the psycho.
Yeah, that's what he calls, because that's what they got called earlier. And he's like, "You're the freak show, and I'm the psycho." And so, then Laurie disappears. Corey calls Allison. He's like, "We need to leave. Your grandma tried to kill me."
"We need to leave.
Your
grandmother wants to kill me." That sounded so. He was like, "We need to go."
What if
like,
Corpse
why does he sound like that?
He goes back to the sewer, beats up Michael, and takes his mask.
Love that for him.
It's like that was a very sexually charged scene. That was very like, you know, Brokeback Mountain.
They kind of went off. What did they do?
When they get into like a little bit of a tussle in a similar situation. And people have taken umbrage with this, and I'm like, Michael is clear. It's been established he's frail as shit now. He can't really do too much. Man. Like, that's why his fight with Laurie is so equal. Like, that's why she can do all of that stuff later. That's why she can finally
win.
Yeah, without like a gun or anything. Like, she can just do it on her own. So he takes the mask. And then Michael does his classic sit-up afterwards. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go fucking get my mask back, I guess. Allison goes home to get her things. She's arguing with Laurie. She's, like, telling her to stop. And Allison's like, I want to go. Like, you're just keeping me here.
You're not the boss of me, grandmother. The way she calls her grandmother, too, not grandma.
We definitely commented on that when we did the commentary. Go back and watch our commentary on
grandmother?
Halloween 2018. And then he, earlier in the movie, too, I forgot to note, when Corey comes to have sex with Allison after killing Doug, Laurie like kind of sees them go up, and she's in the yard, and we see Michael watching her. So he like is kind of.
See that.
You didn't? Oh yeah, that's like one just like little shot. So Michael sits up and he's like, "I'm gonna get my fucking mask back." Allison is arguing with Laurie, and then storms out. Corey scratches Psycho into the side of Terry's car to bait him to chase him to the junkyard, which he does. The teens then find Corey's motorcycle as a very clear trap and try to like hook it up to the car to like take it out. And then Terry's like, he's the Chad jock kid. He's like, yo, drag this shit. We're gonna go until it's nothing. He's like, what's wrong? And then he goes to check on his friend who's in the car, and he has a drumstick fucking bashed into his face. This is where the kills in the movie get good. This is where the movie pops up. From here to the end, I thoroughly enjoyed the rest of the movie.
When was the recording studio killings?
That was later. That's after these.
Cool. All right.
Yep. He then drives a van towards Stacy and Margot, and they run, get over the fence. Stacy, the mean girl, gets to the side, and then Margot's still under the fence, and he just hits it with a van. And I thought she died and got crushed, but she did not. She gets like pinned under the fence and is there for the remainder of the scene, just screaming. And like 3 people try to help her get out, and all of them
don't think to just like move. They try to lift the fence. It's like there's a full truck over it.
But if they move the truck, then it's gonna go over her again.
Well,
Yeah, she's kind of fucked. You need to get like bolt cutters to get her out.
Yeah.
Like then Corey kills. He's wearing Michael's mask at this point. Sorry, I forgot to point that out. He then beats Stacy to death with a wrench. Terry then runs to get help from Ronald, the owner, who is watching a movie, and catches a fucking stray right now because he goes out to help. He gives Terry a gun and grabs a rifle, and then like sees that it's Corey and tries to like stop him. But when he stands up, Terry shoots him in the head and
like,
kills
gotcha.
him. And I really thought, I was like, oh dang, it's gonna be sad when Corey kills his like pseudo dad, but I guess it kind of just shows, how far gone he is. Nope, this other kid does it for him. Corey then gets a blowtorch and sticks it in Terry's mouth. It was beautiful.
It was epic.
Best,
even though it
one of the
wasn't
best kills.
clear.
Yeah. He like melts his face off, and then he stomps Margot's skull and runs over her body, and leave. He then goes home, stabs his mother to death, and then goes to the radio station, where he kills Willie's receptionist, and then goes in to attack Willie, and fucking smashes his face on his turntable, so the music just keeps skipping.
It was wild.
And his head comes up, and his jaw is just like off. And then Corey grabs his tongue and snips it off with some scissors and lets it just sit on the record. We then cut to Allison, and she's in her car, and the music, like the radio's playing, and just keeps skipping. She's like, "What the fuck?" So she turns it off. She's gone to meet Corey at the diner, but he's not there, and so she's like trying to text him, call him, all that stuff. Laurie then, this was a weird scene. Laurie calls Allison, and she doesn't pick up. Then she calls 911 to report a suicide and goes up to her office, takes a gun, and then shoots.
Pacing around.
We get kind of a POV from Corey, who's walking up into her room. We see just like guts go against a wall after a gunshot, and you're like, oh shit, she's dead. Nah, she isn't. And then he opens the door, and she just like has the gun on him, just like, you really didn't think I would kill myself, and then shoots him 3 times, and the audience applauded. It was like fucking Endgame during that part. I thought that was fun. I don't know about you. What'd you think?
Yeah, that was cool. I was like, hell yeah.
Did you do a backflip to celebrate? Yeah, that's
absolutely.
what I did too.
Yeah, in my Timbs with my Yankee over him and my puffer coat.
So she just shot a pumpkin and shoots him a bunch of times. He goes downstairs. Sure, she goes downstairs. They talk, and he's like, well, if I can't have her, talking about Allison, and just stabs himself in the throat because they hear Allison coming up, and I was like, oh shit, he's just gonna grab and kill Allison. So he just stabs himself in the jugular. She goes to like take the knife out right as Allison comes home, of course. Classic Shakespearean mix-up here. And Allison's like, you killed my boyfriend! And then she runs crying as Laurie's like, no, 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 no. And then Laurie's just kind of like sobbing in kind of the classic pose. Her kind of breakdown pose here is up against a wall, very much like in the original, where she does the same pose. Then Michael has shown up to grab his mask from Corey, who is still alive.
Taking that, thank you.
Yeah, and then Michael snaps Corey's neck. He's like, "Fuck you!
How
you
was
took
he
my
alive after
goddamn."
Stabbing himself.
I don't know. No clue.
That part, I was like, no way.
Then the police call her, and they're like, suicide attempt. Oh my god, it was at your address. Is Laurie okay? So she's like, oh, fuck, and realizes what's going on. Laurie and Michael then get into this big fight. This is what the movie was marketed on and really shouldn't have been. But, it's all around the kitchen. They're fucking punching each other, slamming fridges. At one point, he grabs her hand and, like, makes her turn on the garbage disposal.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's he puts it down in the garbage disposal. I don't know if her hand gets into it or if she just gets it out right at the last second.
She puts her head back and
she knocks him in the nose. So she manages to get the upper hand and stabs his hand to her kitchen island, a very tasteful island, very nice kitchen too.
And he's like, and I'm like, bro.
It's like the classic Michael breathing, like the.
He's like.
By the way, talking about classic Michaels, way back in the movie when they're at the Halloween party, there's a flasher that like he's like it's like his costume. He's a flasher. That is Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers from the first movie.
Love that.
Little cameo. Just thought I'd point that one out so we don't get tons of hate comments for missing that point. Then she stabs his other hand. She's it's very Christ-like, very crucifixion, stigmata.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Then she pushes the fridge down to pin his legs. She takes his mask off to look at his face. She like shows him his reflection in the knife and all that stuff. And she's like, you're not a boogeyman. You're just a regular fucking asshole. Then she slits his throat, and
that shit was. Oof.
Yeah, and he's like, oh fuck. And she really takes her time with this. Like, I'm glad that he was a little frailer, so we could have this like long, drawn out kind of fight, and then her drawn out killing of him and her monologue and all about not letting him like rule her life anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But then she like kind of takes it too far, and he ends up getting one of his hands out of the knife by like slitting it up through the middle of his fingers and grabs her by the throat. But then Allison shows up and saves her.
Which I'm like, how can he choke her with that hand? That's like.
And then, the part that made me fucking squirm, Laurie like slits Michael's wrist, and I was like, oh
God, that part,
man,
no,
that got me. That like that shit more than anything. That's
the
what
sound and how
makes me
smooth
get.
It was. Oh no, that shit was.
Yeah, that's more than anything. That's what gets me. Anything else, gory in a movie, I'm fine with. But I don't know. Ever since I remember, I felt nauseous for a day after I saw Twilight for the first time because at the end when he like sucks the out of her wrist, I was like, disgusting.
Oh my god.
I guess we finally found my Achilles heel, my Achilles wrist. Is that
yeah?
Jess's is
so
people getting their ankles cut, and that's her thing. This is mine.
Like Achilles tendon. Oh
yeah.
Shit. Oh god.
So Michael's like down. He's dead at this point. The Hawkins
KO'd.
police arrive. The rest of like a lot of Hawkins citizens show up. They look at his corpse. They have a procession through the town parade. Yeah, they crowd surf his ass. But one person is missing, and Jess pointed this out. She was like, where the fuck is the Real Housewife? Where is she?
Oh, where's Kyle?
Where's Kyle Richards? Like, she deserves to be there. She was just as important, like, in all this. Like, she was all about getting him, and I said she's probably working at the bar. She has work. She can't leave work to go help kill Michael Myers, even if it is a whole town thing. Man, that town is going to have a Halloween parade every year after that to the junkyard, and someone's gonna show up and be like, why do we do that? And then be like, we as a town committed a murder together. They like follow them to the junkyard, they crowd surf his body, and they fucking throw that into the compactor, into the shredder, and you see everything. He just gets annihilated. His head explodes.
Was wild.
Honestly, great move by their point, like to do that, to definitively say it was definitely him. We took the mask off. He is dead. 100%. I saw another suggestion from the Weekly Planet, what they said about this movie, and I thought was a good idea. I want to give them credit, was that Corey maybe shouldn't have died, and he would have been in that crowd and was like, I did some murder too, and maybe we'll do a sequel with me as the killer. Like, everyone thinks Michael did it. Yeah, I really thought that's what they were going for. Like, he would survive or mysteriously get away, and it's like it never really ends kind of vibes. I don't know, maybe we'll get him back. I don't know. So he's dead. The nightmare's over. They reconcile with each other, Laurie and Allison. And she's like, Corey was really evil, you were right. She leaves Haddonfield because another point in the movie of her reason for staying is like, you're being held back. And she's like, I'm doing it because what if I'm not here and Laurie like gets bad again and isn't sober. because that was
Which
a thing
is why
that she
I thought
struggled
she was
with.
actually gonna kill herself when Allison left.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh
It was
my
a
God.
good
Wait,
good
she
fake
like
out.
took a turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
I mean,
shit,
again,
wait, she'll really
Jamie Lee
get
Curtis
that bad?
fucking brings it as she usually does. Like in
Yeah.
this movie, she fucking kills it, and kills Michael. So, she has her parents' wedding rings on a necklace around her neck and everything. Is very, very happy. Laurie finishes her novel, saying, evil never really goes away. It just takes a different shape. Ha ha ha. Because he's the shape. Then she's visited by Hawkins, who gave her, a bushel of vegetables because they made a joke about how he doesn't eat any vegetables earlier in the movie, and then they talk about them, and we kind of get that nice little wrap up there. Then the movie ends with shots of Laurie's empty house. Faint breathing is heard, and we just see the mask on the table, which is kind of a callback to the original movie that ends with just shots of Haddonfield as you hear Michael breathing. And that's the end of Halloween Ends.
Wow. You know, when I watched this with my roommate, and she was like, does Laurie have a job? Like, how did she pay for that house? And I was like, honestly, I feel like the police department, like, just pays
Yeah,
for
she's
it.
on contract.
They're like, you've been through enough.
She's contracted at that point. The life insurance
like, the
probably
state is like, yeah.
from her daughter and her husband dying. So something like that.
Yeah.
She probably just had money saved up.
Yeah. One thing I did want to say, though, is I just, before watching this, I saw a thing on Instagram that was like movie fun facts. And it was saying how there was a clause put in from a producer that Mike Myers could never die. So I was like, oh, so he's just not going to die.
Mustafa Akkad, I think, did that.
Yeah. And then his son,
he's dead,
they were
though,
wondering.
so.
Yeah, but his son was like, took it over and was planning on keeping it. So then I was like, oh, so it's probably,
I don't know.
or like going to be a twist where it doesn't have to be Mike Myers specifically, but maybe the mask or like
exactly. Like the Haunted Mask, the Goosebumps movie.
Or The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Oh, I love that. So that was Halloween Ends. How we like to wrap things up is just a little discussion. Rate the movie out of 10. Say whether or not we liked it, our favorite character, and our favorite scene. Avery, would you like to go first here?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with 5. I don't know. I was like, maybe if I had watched the original, I'm not as into it, but I also just felt like it was pretty silly.
Honestly, I think you coming to it not seeing the original might help. Like, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are comparing it. Go back and watch it, though. It's a fucking classic.
No, yeah, it was cool how they did, like, flashbacks. I was just like, I don't know. It just felt a little silly, especially because it's like, this is a huge franchise, and they're ending it on a note
Very
like this.
weird choice.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of appreciated how weird it was.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, we were, like, taking risks, but, like, when it's the last movie of... Like, I would get more taking risks in Halloween Kills than...
I feel like this movie is going to be, like, the last Jedi for horror fans for a while. It's going to be really divisive because of how much it decided not to follow, like, what came before it. So
Yeah. Which, has has benefits and then cons, I guess. I don't know.
But hey, The Last Jedi doesn't have a kid falling over a banister and smacking the floor, so...
No, it does not. No, it does not. Favorite scene? Jeremy getting murked. No. Probably the, I really like the tongue on the
DJ
vinyl,
kill.
The record
nice.
was really fucking cool.
That was so
like how
gnarly
it just kept
too.
skipping and like stopping, and I was like, oh my god, they like just left the camera there and just was recording like a fake tongue. It was so cool.
Yeah, the whole audience when I saw that just recoiled when he brought his head back, and it was like
Or the Margot kill, because that was just funny. Like, bro, get out of the way. Like, just like she was just staring.
Yeah,
at
that's
truck.
the thing is they were running in a straight line. I'm like, jump onto one of these other trucks around.
Right.
Like, there's a bunch of cars. Jump out of the way. Don't run in a straight
aisles,
line.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And favorite character, I did like, what's his name, Corey? I was gonna say Cody.
Cody Cunningham.
Corey was pretty cool. I liked how he no, he was just so dark, and it's just like really. Just,
he's so
just
dark
so
and sexy. What is the thing in Damage that TikTok sounds like? Oh, he's so...
Probably.
Yeah. Honestly, if this movie came out 10 years ago, Tumblr would have had a fucking field day with Corey Cunningham.
God.
He would have been...
The gifs.
He would have been up there with Evan Peters' character from American Horror Story.
Yes.
Like, everybody would be obsessed.
The Wattpad stories, the fanfic
They'd be like,
stories
can
about
you
him.
be the Corey to my Allison? Or the Corey to my Michael, if we're being that way. If we're being inclusive.
We are. We absolutely. This should be categorized as an LGBT movie because...
With Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yes.
But that's the thing, it's camp. This is campy. This is fun. That's the, yeah.
It was giving. Because
Maybe
Heathers is campy.
this is just one for the gays at the end of the day.
Yes, we will happily take this one. We'll take it off your hands. But yeah, probably Corey. Just because he was a new character, I was not expecting that story. Just from the trailers, not expecting it.
If anything, I feel like they would have made it like Allison's boyfriend, like the kind of douchey one who got the redemption arc in Halloween Kills, and maybe just made him do this, because it would have made kind of sense to have that connection already. But I guess them meeting really for the first time at the hospital is important to their connection. But
because you're just both
I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10. I really flip-flopped on 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 on my letterbox. Literally, like, every hour after I saw the movie, I went back, I was like, nah, 5 out of 10. But I did really like how it progressed, so I'll 6 out of 10. You can't. You can't do halves.
Okay, damn, I didn't know.
Fuck you. Get on Letterboxd. Favorite character? I mean, I did like the introduction of Corey, but Laurie, she's my girl. She's quintessential
total
final girl.
gilf, honestly.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Jamie Lee Curtis is so hot still. Yeah. I just love her. I'm so glad that she did this. And she's never doing another one, and she like signed a contract that said they can never approach her to do another one even.
Love
like
that.
That's part of it. Which is cool. I if they do any more Halloween movies, I'd really like them to like evolve and try to go forward. Have you seen Season of the Witch?
No.
That one's, check it out. It's a really fun Halloween time movie. It has nothing to do with the rest of them because that's what they wanted to do, was just an anthology series. They killed off Michael in Halloween 2, and they were like, okay, we're just going to do other scary Halloween-centric stories. That one's about evil masks that kill kids. It's fantastic.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I really liked her. But I did enjoy, I'm a Corey Cunningham defender. I'll get that on a t-shirt with him and Michael riding on a motorcycle very cutely together. And my favorite scene is either their kind of final confrontation in the kitchen, because I thought, you know, it led up to that, and I thought that was some decent payoff. But I think the Junkyard Massacre is probably my favorite scene, because that's where I was really starting to get into it. Or I thought another twist they could have done was, you know, kill quote-unquote Michael, turns out to be Corey, and the real Michael's still out there is another option. I thought they were maybe going to go with for this one.
But if Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't want to do another one, it's like...
Yeah, but I like the idea.
Well, it could have been Allison.
Still...
I was...
Yeah, and maybe make her, like, make Corey a fake out, and, like, Allison's really, like, the next killer, whatever.
Yeah.
Because...
Like, in the future when, like, Laurie would just die of old age. Because she is getting old, like...
Exactly.
Well, she's like 60-something.
She's died twice already in this series.
Oh, wow.
In the original continuity, she dies in between Halloween's 2 and 4 in a car crash, and then she dies in Halloween Resurrection at the very start of that movie.
Oh my god, this
because Jamie Lee Curtis was like, don't fucking put me in any more of these, kill me off immediately. And she got paid like $3 million for like 6 minutes of screen time or something.
I love that. Did they put her in the trailer, like in Scream?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
More than likely. So yeah, I liked what it did. I've said my piece on how I liked how it did stuff differently, and it was Little Shop of Horrors and all that good stuff. I really wish Corey did the no. Dun, 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 dun. Say the meek shall inherit. You know and the book doesn't lie.
In the background, just like.
Anyway, fun time. I really enjoyed it and enjoyed talking about it. Did I miss anything else? Favorite character, favorite scene, rating? I did them all. Cool. thank you so much for listening. If you liked this, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. 5 stars helps a lot. And you can follow us on Instagram at Movie Night Mates. On Instagram, I am theamazingspider_Dan. Our other co-host, Jess, is Miesica_, and Avery is...
A missing Gav.
Yes. So please follow us there to find out what's going on next. We hope that you had a good time listening, and that I was about to say that you have a great Halloween, but we have one more episode before Halloween. But still, have a great Halloween. Hope you're watching some amazing horror movies. I know I have been. Tonight I'm watching Slumber Party Massacre, the remake from 2021, and it's quite fun so far. I paused it to come and record. Have you watched anything good this month? I forgot to ask you. Aside from this, I had some surprises.
Lake Mungo,
Lake Mungo. No, yeah, Lake Mungo. 84 minutes
really
too.
Creepy.
Fun little spoilery for Lake Mungo, but I won't go into too much. But I was watching with someone who came in about a quarter of the way into the movie, and the movie is presented like a documentary, and they were like, what are you watching? I was like, oh, just like some true crime documentary. Like, it was about this girl who went missing, and then they found out her brother faked a bunch of like pictures and stuff. It was like really fucked up. It happened in Australia in the 2000s. And it got to basically the point in the movie where it becomes very obvious that it is a movie, and they're like, are you sure this happened?
I wish I was there. I wouldn't be able to keep it in. I would have not been able to.
It was really good.
Oh god, that's so good.
But yeah, Lake Mungo. Anything else to suggest to the people? I need to see Smile still. I've heard it's fucked up. A lot of people say it's triggering.
Yeah, I mean, did
Why?
I miss
Because
some
you
jump
were
scares? Yeah,
closing your eyes.
I was seeing it in Dolby Cinema.
That's okay. You were still there for them. I don't count that as missing.
So, because I did cover my eyes, but I think it is a little overhyped. I think especially after seeing Barbarian, there's just nothing that can compare. That's like Smile was good, but like Barbarian
I think the thing was
wild.
That people were expecting like something on par with Truth or Dare or the Bye Bye Man, the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man, Slender, all that shit, and then they went in and were like, oh wait, this is actually like quality, like it's actually I think that's I definitely got overhyped though. I can tell you that.
Good. Like the angles and the way they shot the movie, but it's just like at the end the CGI really threw me off. It was honestly terrible towards the end of the movie. Like could have been not terrible, but I am picky because it's 2022 and it's like you can like I feel like you have the funding to make it a little better. With how much they marketed it, you don't have the money to do it, you know what I mean? So
it's a little weird.
That part was a little like, okay, not to like be nitpicky, but it did make it look really silly. I was like, this is stupid.
And I'm gonna finally watch The Ritual this month, hopefully.
Oh, so good. That one is good. We have a list, me and my roommate.
You should watch the new Hellraiser. That I've seen.
Yes.
That was gonna be on.
I want to watch the old one.
Because the new one's directed by David Gardner, the guy who did The Night House.
David Bruckner.
And Bruckner, thank you. And The Ritual, but
I want to watch the old one first because I have no idea what it's like really.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Very gay. Like it's like.
Oh my god,
very
that.
like. I'm watching Shudder's Queer for Fear show right now, which is really good. It's about like queer representation and just more or less actually how queerness shaped horror, because a lot of like old creators like Mary Shelley and James Whale were gay or like bisexual, but like weren't out and channeled that into their work, and it's really interesting in that respect. And I didn't realize it was.
Give me your login.
It was okay.
Who said that?
Maybe it was co-created. Like the guy behind the whole show is Brian Fuller, who did Hannibal. So like it's all his direction.
That show is so gay.
Yeah. Some other good ones I've watched this month, Cherry Falls, which is just like one of those classic late 90s, early 2000s Scream ripoffs, except it's set in a town where the killer is targeting virgins. It's really interesting. Has Brittany Murphy, rest in peace. Love you. The Werewolf by Night thing by Marvel was fun. The new Hellraiser. And as well as Haunt, which I really enjoyed from 2019. That was a
Yeah.
surprisingly good movie.
We watched that. Me and my brothers would watch that. We would watch like scary movies like every night during quarantine. And my one
That
brother
one's
could
solid.
not stop talking about it for days. Like,
I really
I just
liked
can't
it.
stop thinking about it. Like,
The fucking
really
razor
good.
blade part in that got me too, and the ending,
Yeah.
oh, really good.
I need to watch it again, but I remember it being like unexpectedly like really
Yeah, and finally, Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, which is from the 90s, and I put it off for so long, but it is so fun. Like, I'm very taken aback by how much I enjoyed that movie. I love Tales from the Crypt anyway. Those are always great. But those are some good suggestions. Hope you have a great rest of your October. We'll see you next week for movie night. Goodbye.